Hi, welcome everybody. This is Chris Lee from ClimateKIC Australia. I'm really pleased to be hosting the session this afternoon and look forward to the really interesting conversations we're going to have with our panelist speakers. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land in which we all meet. I'm sitting on Gadigal land in Sydney, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of the land. So today we've got some great panelists, and because we have such a short schedule, I won't give you an overview of all of them, but I'll introduce each one as we start. For those who don't know me, my name is Chris Lee. I'm the CEO of ClimateKIC Australia. We specialise in a whole range of systems innovation solutions, working with government, industry and the research sector. So today we're looking at future-proofing and solutions to clean tech challenges. And we're going to hear from a range of speakers on looking at things very much on the ground. And I'm really pleased to introduce Tracey Slatter, who's the Managing Director for Barwon Water. Very broad-ranging experience, and under Tracey's leadership, Barwon Water has developed a new strategy, which is really about shifting from being a utility to an enabler of regional prosperity. And Tracey's going to be talking to us about water authorities uniting industry action.
Well, thank you very much, Chris, and thank you to everyone who is joining us today. My name's Tracey Slatter, as Chris said, and I'm coming to you from Wadawurrung country and pay my respects to traditional owners who have really looked after our land and our water so brilliantly for tens of thousands of years. And look, I am really benefiting from learning from them and hopefully applying some of their wisdom to the work that we do here at Barwon Water. So let's get started. Next slide, thanks, Anna. What does ice cream, lamb and sewerage have in common? Well, it's not the start of a bad joke. It's the start of a wonderful and commercially successful partnership. And I want to share with you today how we got there, because the technology itself is interesting, but I think what's more interesting is the pathway that got us there. But before I do, let's start with the end. I want to share with you a video which just describes the renewable organic network, so you know what it's all about as I'm sharing the journey with you. Thanks, Anna.
Imagine if you could turn waste into hot water, energy and more. In an Australian first, this is exactly what the renewable organics networks do. They're great examples of innovation and what can be achieved when we all work together. As an example, let's take a look at Colax's Renewable Organics Network. It creates a cycle where organic waste from local manufacturers is sent to Barwon Water, where it's processed to create renewable biogas. This biogas is then used to fuel an engine, creating hot water and electricity. The hot water produced is sent back to the manufacturers to use. The electricity powers Barwon Water and tops up the grid. As well as being innovative, partnerships like this have many benefits for the environment, businesses, and the community. For manufacturers, it creates a circular economy, taking care of expensive waste disposal and delivering hot water, reducing their bills and carbon footprint. Barwon Water can go off the grid and keep customer bills affordable. For the rest of us, Colax's Renewable Organics Network will reduce the strain on our electricity grid by 1,000 homes. Finally, for the Colax community, it will attract skilled workers and investment to the region. Renewable Organics Networks will deliver organic waste management, reduced energy costs, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and more for a cleaner, smarter future.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anna. So how did it start? Well, it really started, thanks, Anna, with the strategy that we set. And we set this strategy in the context of Water for Victoria, the government's policy to guide water corporations and catchment management authorities. And you can see there that we set ourselves an ambitious target for zero emissions by 2030, zero waste by 2030. But importantly, we also in our house said that we need to have strategic partnerships. And so very early on, I met with some of our largest customers, including the Australian Lamb Company and Buller Cream based in Colac. And I asked them a very simple question. What are the challenges that you are facing? And they talked about the increasing and uncertain costs of energy. They talked about the costs of waste. And they talked about the fact that they wanted to be greener businesses, but they simply didn't have the resources or the technical skills to be able to pull that off. So we at the same time were tinkering with capturing methane at our sewage treatment plant and basically listening to these businesses and thinking about some of the work that we were doing, joined the dots and asked if they wanted to start on the journey of seeing if we could achieve something possible. And of course, that we did, and they were keen. So when we looked at this, Anna, we looked at how to seize the opportunity. And what we had to do was recognise we're not going to just be able to do this through the lines. We're a water utility business. All of our efforts are going into delivering high quality, secure, affordable water and sewage services every single day, 24/7, 365 days a year. So we couldn't afford to take our eye off that ball. So we did set aside a small team of people though, who worked incredibly tirelessly across about a couple of years to really come up with how we could make this possible. And the model is pretty simple in its conception. We used to ask these businesses, Australian Lamb Company and Buller, to treat their organic waste to a very high standard before we let them discharge it to our sewer and treat it through our network. The new model turns that on its head. And what we say now is send us your high strength organic waste and we'll turn that into renewable dispatchable energy, and we'll also turn it into hot water, send that back to your businesses, and they in turn will save in treatment costs as well as in gas and electricity costs. And, you know, in doing so, we are helping those businesses to be more successful. We are creating jobs, and we are leveraging our sewer network and infrastructure to achieve more, to achieve the same as what it was doing before and more in providing dispatchable renewable energy and hot water back to those businesses. So let's have a look at it in a little bit more detail, Anna. So this is essentially the model. And what we're doing through this model is reducing emissions by over 6,000 tonnes per year, producing the equivalent of over 1,000 households of electricity, and gas equivalent up to 350 households. We are at the stage of commissioning stage 1, and we've received tenders for the full facilities construction, which is due to be fully operational by 2023. And already, even though that is exciting enough, we are also investigating a stage 3 with a local pallet manufacturer, which may involve some biochar as well. So let's now look at a video about what this means to a small but important regional town like Colac.
An Australian first, a new water treatment plant in regional Victoria is turning waste from food processing into renewable energy. The backers of the plant in Colac say it will reduce greenhouse gases and save businesses and households money.
This is no normal wastewater plant.
What it will do is transform food processing waste into renewable dispatchable energy and soil conditioner products for agribusiness.
The town of Colac, 140 kilometres southwest of Melbourne, is home to 2 big food processors, an abattoir and an ice cream factory. They both produce huge amounts of water filled with waste that's expensive and difficult to dispose of.
Currently that goes to a treatment plant where we use chemicals and electricity to remove those solids.
A $9 million project called the Renewable Organics Network is not only making that process easier and cheaper, it's putting a dollar value on waste.
And it'll generate enough electricity to actually take this whole plant off the grid and feed electricity into the grid, so about 1,000 houses worth.
Those savings could be passed on to Barwon Water's customers. These ponds behind me are relatively new, and one of the key innovations is what is effectively a giant gas-proof tarp laid over the top, and that allows Barwon Water to capture methane which is naturally created and use it to generate electricity rather than have it vent into the atmosphere. The process also heats up water, which will be piped back to the Australian Lamb Company's abattoir across the road, dramatically decreasing their costs.
With the hot water that we're going to get back, we'll reduce our reliance on our gas usage by a third, and reduces our reliance upon gas price fluctuations in the future.
The leftover solids from the process can be used for farm fertiliser. 45 people will be employed to run it, and almost 6,500 tonnes of greenhouse gas will be saved each year. Experts say creating value for waste is a key to sustainable living, but warn it's only one part of the solution.
We need to eliminate waste from the way that we live, from the way that we do business, right from the start.
It's an idea that has the potential to be replicated around the country. Stephen Schubert, ABC News, Colac.
So that's the Colac model, but we're now taking that regionally. Building on the success of this Colac model, we're partnering with 6 municipalities in our region as part of the curbside organics collection startup that is happening across Victoria. And this enables us to leverage a population of 600,000 people and collect 150,000 tonnes of organic material. It really aims to try and address joint challenges, again, just like we did with Australian Lamb Company and Buller, this time with the councils. What are their challenges? Their challenges is they've got to divert waste from landfill and do something productive with it without putting up rates, because we're all working in an environment where we're trying to keep costs of living down. And landfill costs are increasing, so this provides us with an opportunity. So what we are looking at to do here is to turn that organic material, 150,000 tonnes, into high quality fertiliser and renewable energy. And of course, every tonne of waste recycled creates 3 more jobs than if it went to landfill, reduces emissions, keeps if we get the commercial model right on this one, like we have with Colac, it will also mean that it is commercial. It does give a rate of return and benefits to all of the partners that are involved. And of course, all of these initiatives are not only aligned to Water for Victoria, our primary policy governance guide, but also to other government policies, including the newly launched Circular Economy Policy and Recycling Victoria. So in finishing, I think, it is amazing what can be achieved when we work together. We look at how to align our partnerships with others. Instead of just thinking about what it is that we want to do, what is it that we can learn from our partners, learn from our customers, and create a joint set of objectives, and then develop commercial models where everybody in that partnership is better off. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation today.
Great, thanks, Tracey. Really fascinating stuff, and I think this idea of creating these regional clusters and connecting industry with utilities is really, there's a lot of power in that. And look forward to hearing more. So just a reminder, we're we're going to go presentation by presentation. So please put your questions in the live session, and then we'll in the Q&A section, and we'll facilitate those in the chat session. We'll facilitate those at the end. So now I'd like to introduce Tina Perfrement, who's from Geelong, the city of Greater Geelong. And she's been working across businesses in the public sector to increase performance around sustainability. Most recently, she's been working with the city of Geelong to develop partnership programs to inspire opportunities for clean technology uptake. And she's going to talk to us today about how we do a circular economy without breaking the economy. So thanks, Tina.
Thanks, Chris. Can you just confirm for me that you can see and hear me okay? I'm hoping that everybody can. I'll get cracking. Thanks, Chris. I'm here to take you on a whirlwind tour of a program we've been running in Geelong since 2014 called Cleantech Innovations Geelong. We've been delivering support worth $1.2 million, and quite a lot of that support has been directed at projects that are lifting our game on what we can now refer to as circular economy. I'll use these projects as examples to show that creating a circular economy can occur without breaking the economy. Now, I'm based on Wadawurrung country too, so I acknowledge the Wadawurrung traditional owners of this land and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Greater Geelong community. As I mentioned, today I'm here to help you understand why creating a circular economy can happen without breaking the economy. And I'll do this by sharing some real-life examples of where circular economy-related projects are actually growing the economy, helping to strengthen it and make it more resilient. My presentation has 3 parts. In part 1, I'll go through our community-led vision. In part 2, I'll focus on our UNESCO City of Design commitments. And in part 3, I'll explain what Cleantech Innovations Geelong is and some of the circular economy-related projects we've been delivering. I'm really here today to help you understand a bit more about our intentions in Geelong in relation to sustainability, industry growth and development. Part 1 of our story begins with Geelong's community-led vision, that by 2047, Greater Geelong will be internationally recognised as a clever and creative city region that's forward-looking, enterprising and adaptive and cares for its people and its environment. Back in 2016-17, over 16,000 people in Geelong told us what they value about our region and how they rate it against the recognised elements of a successful community. They also shared their ideas about how to address challenges now and in the future. And the result is this: a community-led blueprint for Greater Geelong to be recognised regionally, nationally and internationally as a clever and creative city region. In this document, the community of Geelong describes 9 aspirations. In each of them, you can see the Geelong community's intentions. The diversity of the people involved and their commitment and passion for Greater Geelong makes this document a strong and durable platform to guide future decision makers and hold them accountable. Understanding how the community would like Greater Geelong to evolve over the next 30 years gives decision makers the flexibility to respond to shifts in technology, demographics, the economy, and of course, climate change. Moving on to part 2 of my presentation, which will outline the next of our strategic intentions for a sustainable future as a city. It's our UNESCO City of Design designation. Geelong is one of Australia's first UNESCO Cities of Design. The designation recognises that we are an evolving, dynamic city with a deep sense of place and a strong industrial past, and that we embrace change to build a clever and creative future. The City of Design designation is about using creativity and innovation to build more sustainable, resilient and inclusive communities, and it fits really well with our 30-year community-led vision. Our designation as a City of Design gives us opportunities to showcase and celebrate our achievements on an international stage. Now, I've included a video in the next slide about our UNESCO City of Design designation, and I think you'll find it has some useful insights into what makes Geelong such an attractive place to live, work and play. I can't finish off part 2 of my presentation without explaining a bit about the core commitments each creative city makes when they accept their membership into the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. All of the UNESCO Creative Cities, including Geelong as a city of design, make commitments to achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The goal that specifically relates to being a city of design is Goal 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. Now, this is an interesting commitment to be making, especially in light of COVID-19. As UNESCO sees it, COVID-19 is spreading human suffering, destabilising the global economy and upending the lives of billions of people around the globe. The Sustainable Development Goals, as UNESCO sees it, are vital for a recovery that leads to greener, more inclusive economies and stronger, more resilient societies. So it's now time to move on to part 3 of my presentation, which is about Cleantech Innovations Geelong. Cleantech Innovations Geelong is a business and industry support program to develop markets for clean technologies. Our vision is to establish Geelong as a centre of excellence for clean tech by attracting investment, creating jobs and building skills. Cleantech Innovations Geelong is in line with Geelong's designation as a UNESCO City of Design and the community-led 30-year vision for a clever and creative future. Since its launch in 2014, Cleantech Innovations Geelong has provided a focus for businesses in Geelong looking to establish their next generation of innovation. We've been delivering projects that create jobs, build skills and increase turnover through a robust level of support to stimulate demand for clean tech goods and services and develop the market to respond to this increased demand. Cleantech Innovations Geelong is a collaboration between the City of Greater Geelong, the Geelong Manufacturing Council and the Victorian State Government. The business support services that we offer through the program focus on key activities including procurement, new clean tech products, demonstration products, and a centre of excellence. Looking at each of these activities separately, I'll quickly go through a number of examples of our work in the coming slides. First is procurement for innovation. This is a method we borrowed from the UK and Europe, where it's been applied to solve problems using the buying power of the public sector. The City of Greater Geelong's last procurement for innovation process was the first time the method was used in Australia. The process led to a zero-maintenance recreational bridge with a 100-plus year design life. And the City of Greater Geelong's current procurement for innovation project is to create road infrastructure products out of household recycled materials that apply circular economy principles. The next area of our work is what I like to call our bread and butter, which by this I mean is what we do all the time, and it's product development. This particular slide features a product from a company called Polymeric Powders, and we help them by stimulating demand for their new raw material made from waste tyres. The product featured in this slide was developed by a company called Sequence Digital, and their product will improve the efficiency and safety of processing organic materials like garden organic waste. We've also supported a startup called Strut, which have created a new technology-based product to improve water management in agriculture. I hope you're getting a picture now and a better sense as I talk through these examples that circular economy solutions are out there and they're certainly growing our economy in Geelong. We also have 4 demonstrations of clean technologies that we're supporting. And when we offered our support in the form of time and money to actually 5 projects it was at the start of 2020, we asked each of the companies which had approached us for support if they were still able to deliver their demonstration projects given the implications that COVID might be having on their businesses. All but one of the project proponents said they wanted to proceed. They told us that their motivation for working on their clean tech or circular economy related projects helped them to plan for the future, become more resilient to shocks in the market, and it gave them something to look forward to. The first 2 demonstrations I'd like to quickly tell you about are projects being delivered by Capricorn Power and Focus Group. The picture on the left is of the Capricorn Power Demonstration Project, which is developing an engine that can process organic material to generate energy using biochar more efficiently. And the picture on the right is the Focus Group Demonstration Project, which is about identifying the next generation of systems and technologies that should be adopted to speed up the transition of existing waste management systems to a future circular economy. The other two Cleantech demonstration projects involve sustainable energy. On the left there is Geelong Sustainability, who are conducting a feasibility study for a community solar farm. And Deakin University is the picture on the right there, featured in that picture. And Deakin University is running a trial of an energy optimisation device in households to increase the efficiency of solar panels and save householders money. Moving on to the last thing that I wanted to tell you about our circular economy related work in Geelong. Because of the number of clean tech and circular economy related business happening in Geelong since 2014, we've been investigating whether it's a good idea to establish Geelong as a clean tech centre of excellence. Geelong has a growing population which will continue over the next 30 years. And with this population growth, there will be businesses coming to locate here. Cleantech Innovations Geelong wants to influence this influx by attracting clean tech and circular economy related businesses. So I hope by listening to the information I've shared with you today that you've got a good idea about why in Geelong we think that creating a circular economy won't break the economy. We know that creating a circular economy will help Geelong deliver on the aspirations in our clever and creative future vision. It'll help us deliver on our commitments to the Sustainable Development Goals as part of our UNESCO City of Design designation. And we also think that we can fast track clean tech and circular economy businesses moving to Geelong by taking a place-based approach that supports sustainable business and the local lifestyle in our Centre of Excellence investigation. I've included some links on the final slide here where you'll find more information about Geelong's clever and creative future vision, our UNESCO City of Design designation, and of course, Cleantech Innovations Geelong. Thanks so much for your time, everyone.
Thanks, Tina. Really interesting stuff, and these place-based solutions certainly, following on from Tracey's examples, certainly the way to go to really get at these, and the important role that government can play. So again, please keep putting in your questions in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll capture them together to, we'll have all our speakers back on shortly. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Heidi Lee, who is the CEO of Beyond Zero Emissions. And Heidi's led their much lauded response during COVID, the 1 million jobs plan, and it's certainly really pleasing to see that work continuing to expand and get a lot of traction and engagement that it deserves. And Heidi's going to be talking to us today about how do we rethink our towns and cities and create jobs. So thanks, Heidi.
Thank you, Chris. It's really wonderful to join everyone here today. I am joining you today. We are based in Melbourne, our head office. We do have staff around the country, but today I'm joining you from Canberra, which is the traditional lands of the Ngunnawal people, and I pay my respects to those elders past, present and future. About Beyond Zero Emissions. So for anyone who has not heard of Beyond Zero Emissions, we are a think tank. We are independent, which means we're not attached to a political party or a university. We present very optimistic, non-partisan solutions for decarbonisation that show us what the economic opportunities are and what the full potential and the benefits will be of making a transition to zero emissions and making it soon. Our business model is quite unique. So we actually provide platforms for volunteers, expert volunteers, professionals, business leaders, skilled people from all across sectors of the economy to contribute to our work. So that means volunteers write our research papers, and they also help us get the word out there and make sure that our research lands in the real world. We have been around for just over 10 years. So we published our first sector-based decarbonisation report in 2010. That was called the Stationary Energy Plan. And since 2010, we've published sector-based decarbonisation plans for buildings, transport, land use, and more recently, industry. So a sector-based industry report here, the Electrifying Industry Report, was released in 2018. We have also got a history of creating place-based decarbonisation plans. So that's where we take our sector-based research and we apply it to a region or a zone around Australia, and we look at how you could apply initiatives from across all those economic sectors to create lasting economic benefits. In 2019, we released a 10 gigawatt vision for the Northern Territory. They have 1 gigawatt of energy going on up there today. So it was a really optimistic look at what could happen if the Northern Territory government made renewable energy and clean technology the backbone of their economy. And the good news is that a clean tech economy, a renewable energy economy, would far outperform any of the other alternatives that the Territory has if they were to invest in more fossil fuel development. And what we're looking at today, which is our Million Jobs Plan, was a huge collaboration. A lot of volunteers, businesses, industry, investors all came together last year during COVID to look at what would happen if we took the most jobs rich, the most economically beneficial projects that could help provide Australia with a really strong recovery from the economic downturn that was caused by COVID. So the Million Jobs Plan identified more than 1.8 million jobs across 7 sectors of the economy in about 28 different initiatives. This was an enormous collaboration across industry, and it has had some really fantastic uptake. Our primary focus here is to look at the Million Jobs Plan as a national recovery piece. So there's great opportunities for Victoria and the regions in Victoria, but also right across Australia, where the Million Jobs Plan is showing us that a economic recovery based on clean technology and renewable energy will far outperform any other type of recovery. Here are some of the main industrial sectors where we look to see benefits. So primarily, of course, you see huge benefits in making buildings more energy efficient. That is the vast majority there. So almost 1 million jobs over the next 5 years just in making our buildings more efficient. This is a huge opportunity for the economy and a way that we can actually not just help future-proof our buildings and make sure that our homes are energy efficient, they're healthy and comfortable to be in, which was extremely important for those of us in Victoria who were locked in our houses for many months last year, but also that this will provide that much needed economic benefit from getting a whole lot of clean technology deployed into our homes around the country. We also looked at bringing on new manufacturing jobs, looking at electrifying our transport sector. We looked at bringing down carbon emissions out of the atmosphere in our land regeneration projects, and of course, building the renewable energy that we are going to need to be able to power all of these great things. It's great for the economy, but don't listen to us. Independent economic review of the Million Job Plan was done by Chris Murphy late last year. You can download that one from our website. This one here shows that the Million Jobs Plan outperforms any other type of recovery proposed by the government. The Fast Track Pack. Now, this is an opportunity that we took because of our business model, where we have a crowdsourced approach to our initiatives. This is part of us reaching out to communities all across Australia. You can see there's lots of dots on the map there in Victoria. We asked businesses, communities and investors where they could find good examples of Million Jobs Plan type projects and to submit them into a project database. So we have over 700 submissions to the database. And out of that, we identified what the top 15 projects were that best represented the private sector uplift that could be gained from any government investment in these projects. We were looking for large projects. We were looking for projects that would provide medium and long-term economic benefits. So we're really looking for infrastructure pieces, and you can see the examples here are around transmission lines and making sure that we have pumped hydro energy storage, some offshore wind, battery factories. These are just some of these examples. these projects were widely supported by state and federal government, and the federal government supported a number of these in last year's budget. The main opportunity that we see to take our Million Jobs plan and that broad approach to economic recovery and to help target and focus our advocacy, we are looking at renewable energy powered industrial manufacturing precincts as one of the key benefits, or one of the first moving projects and initiatives that need to happen right now to make sure that Australia retains our competitive advantage in a global economy that is decarbonising pretty fast. I have a short video about one of our initiatives in the Hunter. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see that.
The Hunter is going to be the electric motor of the Australian economy. We're going to bring back steel. We're going to produce steel with 100% renewable energy, and our opportunities there are limitless. We're going to do green aluminium, green hydrogen, green ammonia, electrified manufacturing, and we have the opportunity and the infrastructure to export Australian renewable energy through these products here in Newcastle.
So I'll leave part of that review of the video to people who are chasing that up on our website. But the main application that we see here is for the process of decarbonising our manufacturing sector to happen in clusters and to be achieved by groups of manufacturers coming together to coordinate on planning the infrastructure that they're going to need to be able to transition their current manufacturing processes from gas or other fossil fuels to all electric, and then to power that electricity, to provide that electricity with all renewable energy. So that is a massive task, and one that you can't do as well solo as you can together. So the renewable energy industrial precincts are explained fully on our website, and we currently have looked at 2 locations around Australia. We are looking at the Hunter Valley and Gladstone, but in our national map for Australia, we see the Latrobe Valley and Portland in Victoria as being really key centres of manufacturing capacity for clean technology, but also locations where we need to make sure that we have very high volumes of affordable and reliable renewable energy coming online to power a clean economy. Well, I won't go into those 2 there, but what we should see here is on our website, you're able to download a briefing paper on what a renewable energy industrial precinct is and how the approach of clustering manufacturers and decarbonising them together can be one of the best ways that we can bring jobs into the economy, but also to help provide more manufacturing onshore in a way that decarbonises our supply chains and gives Australian manufacturers a really bright future, one where their demand for their goods and services is expanding, and one where we can provide distributed jobs across regions all around Australia and across Victoria. There's opportunities to get involved, and you'll find them on our website. And you're also very welcome to reach out to myself or follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn. We are also on Facebook, or email me directly if you're interested in hearing more about what we're doing with manufacturing or with our Million Jobs plan. Thank you.
Great, thanks Heidi. And I must admit, we're very lucky. We've been working with Heidi and the team on an aspect that she didn't touch on around large-scale retrofit for houses, and it's been really great working together with them. So we're just bringing back all the speakers now. So we've got a bunch of questions from the audience through the various channels. Before I do that, just a reminder that as part of the event, there is an Expo function, and you can click on the Expo button on your left-hand side, and there's a virtual Expo, and BZE and Capcom Power, who were mentioned in one of in Tina's presentation, are part of that as well. So a question first for Tracey, particularly around replicability. How likely do you think this, how well do you think this model might, be repeated in other parts of Victoria or even around the country, particularly around the sort of this regional organics network?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Look, that's what I love about it. It's not something that you can just do in one location with a certain basically all you need, the ingredients are high strength organic waste or any sort of organic waste. So whether that be curbside collection waste, industrial organic waste, manufacturing organic waste, and some proximity to an anaerobic sewage treatment plant. So where you can capture the methane and then with a cogen engine turn that into a dispatchable renewable energy. And the fact that it's dispatchable, I think, is also a real benefit. The more of this type of technology to complement solar and wind, then you've got a bit more stability contributing to the grid. So we did a study which showed that the COLAC model can be replicated very easily in at least 35 locations around Australia. The regional RON is replicable, is a lot more easily replicable because you basically just need the critical mass of organic waste, some willing partners, the right commercial model. We're looking at 10-year agreements, so we've got that guarantee income waste stream for offsetting the significant capital expenditure that we'll be making. So as long as you've got those ingredients, trusted relationships. So, I do a little plug for Barwon Water. We're number one for trust in the water sector at the moment. I think that's critical too. And you can't enter into these sort of long-term agreements unless you're a trusted organisation. And that's something our customers have told us and our councils have told us. Tina will back me up on that one.
Great, thanks,
Absolutely.
Tracey. Just a very quick follow-on, particularly because I think, one of the aspects of your project is very much, a whole series of co-benefits that are being brought together. And there's a question here around, have you been successful in creating a route to market for residual soil conditioner?
Yeah,
and,
so this is
that something that's emerging?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you asked that one, Chris, because look, I think you've got to start with the end in mind. It's the technology to be able to turn organic waste into something is there, right? So that's not the difficult part. When we looked at the renewable organic network for our region, we examined the market for compost. There's heaps of compost on the market. There's a limit to how many bags of compost we're going to buy from nameless large warehouse. But in terms of high quality soil conditioner, we already have an established market. Barwon Water, our partner, turns our biosolids into high quality fertiliser, soil conditioner. We have established markets for that. But in developing the renewable organic network for the region, we did some further market development, talking with farmers across our region, and we asked them what is the profile of soil conditioner that they want. And we've literally designed the regional organic network process to deliver that end product for that market, because we want this to benefit our region. We're on about regional prosperity. So we want to deliver a product that not only is commercially viable, but helps generate even more high quality agricultural activity in our region.
Great, thanks, Tracey. So Tina, a question for you now from the floor. Does Geelong collaborate with any other UNESCO cities of design? So has that helped you connect globally and get examples of what might be working on the ground?
Yeah, it's a great question, Madeleine, I think, who's asked that. And I really appreciate that question being asked, because it was one of the things I had to cut from my presentation because there just wasn't time. But yes, indeed, the City of Design designation has allowed us to collaborate with a number of the other cities of design across the world. We run a design week on an annual basis now, which was a model used by other cities of design, and they have helped us in the planning for those design weeks here in Geelong. We've also borrowed some of those wonderful projects that have existed amongst other City of Design cities around the world. One is a City of Design souvenir project, which is about promoting businesses on our patch that are producing things with a design influence to them, and promoting those products as being things that businesses and the community can use as anything from merchandising type products to corporate gifts, or just gifts for, from person to person. So that notion of a souvenir from a City of Design city is an idea that we collaborated with Montreal City of Design actually on. We've also had delegations to Geelong. We've sent delegations from Geelong to other cities of design to see what's happening elsewhere. One of the first projects we brought back from Dundee City of Design was the Livable, Lovable City project, which was one of our first kind of forays into acknowledging how much design and innovation we have in our community, and using that Livable, Lovable City project to explore what we actually have here and celebrate that, which was a great project too. And we're hoping, well, we know we've won it, but we're hoping it'll be face-to-face this year, and that folks might be able to get here face-to-face, like our other previous sub-network meetings have been. But each of the sub-networks of the UNESCO Cities network, design being one of those sub-networks, has a meeting every couple of years, and Geelong's just won the right to run the City of Design network meeting this year. So as I say, we're hoping that it will have a face-to-face component to it, but if not, it will obviously all be virtual. But yeah, there are a number of opportunities that have already sprung up for us since our designation to collaborate with other cities, and we hope for sure that they'll start to expand more into industry, because we've had a lot of focus on business, particularly businesses in the creative sector, and we really want the opportunities to be expanded to industry. Thanks for the question.
Great, thanks, Tina. Heidi, a question for you now, particularly in the broad spectrum of work you're looking at. Has BZE looked at the potential for battery manufacturing in Australia? We export a lot of the precursor chemicals and materials to manufacture elsewhere, but we've also got significant demand for batteries.
Yes, absolutely. We love batteries. We would like to make them here in Australia. Australia has 9 out of the 10 critical minerals needed to make lithium-ion batteries, and they did feature in our Million Jobs Plan and in our Fast Track Pack. So if you're interested in our understanding of where the battery opportunities are, the Million Jobs Plan .org.au is where you'll be able to download our report, and there's just under 30,000 jobs in establishing a manufacturing sector over the next 5 years. But also it's really important that we look at the critical minerals sector and see that there's still another 40-odd thousand jobs in being able to do better mining, downstream processing, and actually making sure that we value add to those metals through either turning them all the way into batteries or taking a few steps down the value chain before we export them. So batteries are obviously absolutely critical to having a stable and reliable energy supply in a renewable energy grid, but also they present a major opportunity for Australia's manufacturing sector for home batteries, for electric vehicles, and also for grid support. So great question, and a huge opportunity for Australia. Chris, you're on mute, but I can see you.
Thanks, Heidi. Look, I just wanted to thank Heidi, Tracey, and Tina. It was really interesting. I'm a real big proponent of these place-based initiatives. I think they've got a really important role to play. Now, obviously, national government policies have got an important role, but these on-ground connection points between various clusters of government and industry are really where we're going to get massive runs on the board. And as always, like the BZE map, because if you really think about it, there are multiple places in every state where you can do this. It's not just in WA or in New South Wales or whatever. It's very much around the country, and we can use that very much as a platform to drive significant change. Very much want to thank our speakers and panelists. these online events are always a little strange. We do have 130 people online, even though we can't see anybody. But it's really great to have that sort of audience linking in and being part of this work. So we're just prepping now for the next session, which will start on 2 o'clock, and it's around energy, climate, and carbon, and the carbon revolution. And we certainly look forward to for you to continue participating in that activity. So Anna, is there anything else that we need to do? No, we're all good. So thank you once again for listening. And as the organisers said, if you're not rushing off to go to the toilet, pop over into the virtual expo and visit the organisations that are displaying their information there. And the next session will get started at 2 o'clock. So thank you all.
Bye.